Hello, my name is Tarina and this is a quick tutorial on how to merge objects. The word merge doesn't really exist in Blender. Instead of that, we have two tools that we can use to combine objects. First one being join. The join command will join objects together while keeping the meshes as separate, which in practice means when we look at these two, we have two separate origins, we have two separate objects, and let's give them also two separate materials. This is the material 004 and this is the, let's give it material 2. And let's give them some blend shapes too, why not? And a UV map called A and UV map called B. Like have different things on both of these. When you join objects, I would always recommend having the basis shape key on. So it's just easier for the combining process on Blender side. Sometimes when you have just a few blend shapes, it's gonna be fine, but if you have a lot of blend shapes, just to be sure, select the basis one for both of them. The one you select last is the active object. Active object is always colored different than all the rest of the objects you have selected. If you just press A, the active objects will be selected kind of at random, or the last object that you selected. If that's not the object you want to have as the active object, you can shift select any of the objects you have selected and that will become the active object. The active object will be the main character, the one that the other parts will be combined to. So for an example, if we want to combine these two and we want to keep this origin, we would have to select that last. And with the to combine them, we use the join command. You can find, actually, whenever you are not sure, you can search the command. It's join. You have object join. So you can find it from object join. And from here, we can also see the hotkey. It's Ctrl J. Let's use that. With Ctrl J, we can join them. And now we saw that we get both the UV maps. We get all the blend shapes. They get combined because they were named the same. So if we Ctrl Z back when these are different, let's give this is named A. Actually, no. Let's make a new that is called A. And here we have key 1 and B. Now when we combine these, Ctrl J again, we get A, B, and the key 1. And this one, if we had this one have in the A shape key, we have that motion, and in this one we have that motion. So the key 1 blend shape, oh, I put it under the wrong one. Let's put it here. So the key 1 looks like this. Now, when we join these two, we get just one key 1, but both of those actions from both meshes, the key 1 blend shape will be combined into one. Okay, clear enough. But this mesh now has two materials. In case you have, for an example, a character that has hairs and all the hairs are in the same material, be sure to only have one material when you export the model, because there is no reason to have hair 1, hair 2, hair 3 if all of them refer to the same texture and the same shader in Unity side, because then in the game engine it will still search each one of those objects related materials one by one. So be sure that only the materials that are in use are in this list. Okay, that was the join command. Join command, the kind of a downside and a good thing is that we are left with this redundant piece of mesh. If you keep editing your asset and let's say you want to move this part all together, it can be really tedious to try and select it. You can select it with just clicking L. It's the link selection. It's select linked, and you can select different options here how you want to limit it. But if you have separate meshes, you can link select them quite easily. Downsides kinda to join or things to consider. As I said, there's always one object that is the active object, which is colored different than all the rest of the objects. That object's modifier stack will be the modifier stack of the new object that comes out of the joining command. What that in practice means is if we have this object with the, let's say, mirror modifier, and let's refer to this object as the mirror modifier object, it looks like this. This modifier is on this mesh, this object, called sphere 001. Now, if we join the sphere 001 to this object, the sphere, with the join command, we lose the modifier. If we want to keep the modifier, we first need to apply it. In this case, we have actually shape keys in this modifier. There is a add-on that you can keep blend shapes when you add called a shape keys. You can keep shape keys when you apply to when you apply modifier stack. You can keep the shape keys. It's called SS Keeper. I can add the link in the description to that add-on, but that lets you keep the modifier when you join. Not in this case, apparently. Okay. There we go. There we go. But otherwise, if you need to apply the modifiers if you want to keep the modifiers. If you have blend shapes, the other option is, and it cries that, oh, I cannot apply this modifier because there are shape keys. You do need to apply those shape keys or remove them. Delete all shape keys. Delete all shape keys. And then you can also apply the modifier and join them. If the object that you're joining to, let's say we have this mirror modifier, we want this object into this object. We keep this mirror modifier if we do it the other way around. But as you may guess, because this object doesn't have origin anymore, the mirroring origin gets all wonky. Because we refer to this object no longer exists. This object's origin is here now. So there are those things to consider when joining objects. You lose the information from that object, so be sure that you're not using it anywhere. The other option for joining meshes together is with the modifier called boolean. And with the boolean modifier, the good thing is, as I said, in here we keep this redundant bit. In boolean, we kind of get rid of that automatically. I'll show you. We select this object and add a boolean called, a modifier called boolean and union, and we choose this object as the union object. Now there's some glitchiness here, and it's because this object is here in the scene twice. We have the original object, sphere 1, but we already have the sphere 1 visible when we just select the sphere, because it's in a boolean. If we hide this, we don't see it. If we go to edit mode, we need to activate it here to see it. But we cannot edit it in edit mode. If we want to edit this shape while it's in a boolean, we need to go to the original mesh that the boolean is referring to. If we edit this mesh, the sphere 1 here, and we go to this one, and we hide the sphere 1, it's the sphere 1 that the boolean modifier refers to. So it's non-destructive. If you're not 100% sure about things in your armature or the mesh that you're editing, this is the non-destructive way to combine parts. This is a tool that you use a lot when you do hard surface modeling. You can also use boolean as a cutter. For an example, that is a very used tool in hard surface modeling, where you add a boolean called yes, or differentiate. I think that's what it called. Yeah, and you make cuts on your objects. I have a box cutter, which is an add-on, which does this kind of automatically and gives you these like tools that make it a bit easier. So I can show like this. You can I need to choose the correct sphere to move it around. You can move the cutter around. Anyway, that's a bit of a, if you're into hard surface, then that is very useful tool. In a soft body, like organic modeling, it's not used that much. But that's where this comes from. It refers to an object and does things to your original object based on it. Anyway, the downside with Boolean is that when you export a mesh that has booleans, it will automatically apply these modifiers. And in the end, you will have, as a result, very messy topology. So to avoid that messy topology in the end use case, we would need to manually clean these seams up. And to do that, there are some, I will quickly go over how I would do it. There are some other tools too, like going totally remeshing the object or just doing box modeling on top of it, whatever. But this is how I would do it. I would apply the modifier, end up with this type of a lot of redundancies when it comes to vertices, but no redundancies on the inside. I would, in this case, because it's kind of clean, we can see there's a line clearly that goes through. I would select with the W, you can cycle through the different lasso selection tool. You can also like slide click here to select lasso. And I would select everything, all these like little vertices on the seam that are messy. These are messy, right? And cleaning up a bit the selection. Alt Z, you can get rid of the mirror selection tool. Actually, let's keep those. Select the vertices that I want to get rid of. And then I would, with just M, we can merge vertices. I would select the distance and I would increase or decrease this according to what is needed to get quickly results that look a lot better. And case by case, you also need to go back and slide these around. You can, with GG, slide vertices along an edge. And if you have this little helpful tool, auto merge on, it auto merges those for you. So this is now just one vert. You just slide it, whoop, and it's already merged. Otherwise, select the two. I use box selection, merge and add center, manually merging these vertices. Now, if you're quick and messy like me, you might be happy with triangles, and triangles are fine, but it's the n-gons that you're worried about. There's a kind of easy tool to get rid of, get visual of the n-gons you have left. We can now clearly see that there's an n-gon here, but there might be more. Going to face selection mode, I go select by trait and face by sides. And here I choose greater than 4, because everything greater than 4 faces, or like number of vertices on a face, would be considered an n-gon. Okay, and now we have all the n-gons selected, but this doesn't really help me. With Ctrl I can invert the selection. So I invert the opposite of what I have just selected, and with H I hide those. Now I only see all the messy bits. You can quickly triangulate these to get rid of the n-gons. Instead you have triangles, which are usually better. With Ctrl T, you can triangulate. So in theory, if you're in very much of a hurry, which can be the case in game development cycles, once you have selected by traits all the n-gons, just Ctrl T and now you have triangles there instead. This is the fastest, messiest way to fix the topology. But yeah, you end up with messiness and someone else is gonna look at your model and be like, wait, what? You really ran out of time, didn't you? And you just need to admit like, yes, I did. Anyway, that's how I would go about manually and quick and messy ways to fix the topology on the seams of two Boolean objects. Now when we export this, we no longer have a lot of redundant vertices, and if we have time, obviously you would go down here and clean these up to have actually nice looking. seam here, right? Right. Yes, that is it for merging objects and how I would go about it. Let me know if you have any questions and if this was at all helpful for you.